I'm joined today by Mark Weinstein, who's a privacy advocate, author, also founder of Sgrouples.com. That's SGROUPLES.com. Mark, it's great to have you here. You know, sometimes when issues become very polarized and widely reported in corporate media, we conflate unrelated issues. So one example of this is with GMOs. We've seen somewhat of a conflation of the safety and health of eating GMOs and the labeling of GMOs. When it comes to privacy, I feel like we're seeing something similar when it comes to, on the one hand, kind of sensible online social media privacy that everybody should be aware of, and that being conflated with NSA surveillance, Edward Snowden, etc. So let's start at the very broadest point. Is there anything one can do when it comes to their kind of personal online privacy that would in any way affect what we've been talking about more broadly regarding the NSA and broader government surveillance? Or are they truly two completely separate and unrelated things?
You know, David, that's interesting because when you look at the government, you want to look at where does the government get most of their information from? And the government gets their information from a carrier, you know, as we saw with the Verizon phone records, with Google, with Facebook. And then you want to look at, well, then what do those companies know about me and why do they know it? So there's really, it's sort of like even with the GMO, you want to look back to, well, where did the genetic engineering happen? So, and here, you know, where is my data baked into a packet that's available for the NSA, never mind any advertiser in the world and all the data brokers, and my data is aggregated into a packet at Facebook, and it's aggregated into a packet at Google. So we want to look back at where does the genetic engineering take place? And it's in social media. You know, Facebook is actually tracking us at 1,205 of the top 2,510 most popular websites in the United States. You know, Twitter's even tracking us almost 900 of those 2,500. So you look at what does Google know? Remember, Google finally admitted that they read every email. You know, their algorithm does, and then they're deciding everything. They know everything about me, what my hobbies are, all the emails I've written, all the YouTube videos I've watched, all the searches I've done, all my passwords. So, you know, really, is there something we can do? Absolutely. It's start to get smart about social media where the genetic engineering takes place at, you know, in the first blush.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that a lot of this stuff is kind of common sense, right? And we increasingly see people who, for example, for work purposes, they might just not be on Facebook at all, or if they're on Facebook, they use their first and middle name rather than having their last name on there, and that type of thing. But really, when we're talking about government surveillance, it's happening at a much higher level, right? So just putting your middle name on Facebook so your coworkers can't find you, that is not going to have any impact on the government's ability to collect your data.
That's right. That's right. Listen, you know, really, I'm not telling everybody to. And first of all, when you start using Facebook in a fake way, it defeats the purpose of social media, and that's what we're seeing now. So from the incredible era of being uncensored on Facebook because it was brand new and sexy and everybody was doing it, now there's something called after the ecstasy, the laundry. So now, with all the laundry of Facebook, people losing their jobs, kids not getting into schools, relationships being ruined, cyberbullying, suicide, all these things. So now we're all censoring ourselves on Facebook. So when we look at Facebook, we're not seeing a real person's life, really. We're seeing a very sort of, nurtured, a cultured, a censored view of somebody. And if they're using their first name or middle initial or whatever, still the NSA can see where that person is coming from. And remember, Facebook is still spying on everything you're doing. It doesn't matter how tight you batten down the hatches at Facebook and believe in their baloney about their privacy, because there is no privacy at Facebook, because they're spying on everything that we're doing, everything.
Yeah, and to be clear, I want to make sure the audience knows, Scruples is kind of its own social network, and anybody who watches this program, we have a very skeptical audience. It'll be very apparent to people that some of your criticism of Facebook could, of course, be couched under the umbrella of wanting to promote your alternative to Facebook, right?
Definitely not. Definitely not. I'm sorry. No way. No way. So this is reality. So this is regardless. This is separate from my social network, which we're not even talking about.
Good. Yeah, no, I wasn't, Mark, to be clear, I wasn't issuing a criticism of you. I just see what will happen is my audience will email me and they'll say, David, it's irresponsible not to at least mention that he does have his own social network. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely, David. Absolutely. Look, it's in the background. It's right there. You know, I'm a privacy advocate, right?
Yeah.
And so, and for everybody, you know, and David, you too, I think you know this. I'm one of the founders of social media. So in 1998, I built one of the first great social media companies, superfamily.com, superfriends.com. We were PC Magazine Top 100 Companies 3 years in a row. And, you know, when Mark Zuckerberg said in 2010 that privacy is a social norm of the past, I was shocked because we live in democracy. You know, in North America, we have the greatest democracy in the world, and privacy is in the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution.
Right.
You know, our founding forefathers, you know, understood privacy, you know, hundreds of years before social media. And I was very comfortable. I had moved on from social media. I had written 4 books on greatness. And, you know, that was a turning point in my life. I said, wait a minute, we cannot accept that privacy is just gone just because, you know, Mark Zuckerberg says so. And so absolutely. So I endeavored to move to Silicon Valley and to build a brand new, really advanced social media company where people can really love sharing and really love hanging out together. Their uncensored selves with privacy they trust. We don't track, we don't use facial recognition, you know, we don't own your content. Remember, Facebook, these other companies, they own your content too. That's a little bit creepy and strange. So, David, absolutely. But, you know, what I'm pointing to really is, you know, first of all, do we really have a defense against the NSA? If the NSA wants to find out something about you, you know, it seems like they're able to do it. If they can, you know, spy on Anna Merkel's phone calls, you know, the Premier of Germany, the Prime Minister, then of course they can find out about us. But on the other hand, they can't figure out where this Malaysian airplane is. And if you're not using social media, if you're using something like Scruples, where we're not tracking and aggregating data on you, then we have nothing to hand over to the NSA when they come knocking at the back door and looking for all those packets of information. So, you know, where's the packet of information about David Pakman? Well, we don't have a packet of information about David Pakman because we have no tracking cookies.
Hey, out of curiosity, how many members does Scruples have? How big is your social network?
So we are just, you know, we're just about to go viral. So we're just rolling out our viral mechanisms. So right now we have over 100,000 registered and invited users, almost 140,000. Which is amazing because we have not rolled out our viral mechanism, our member link system. And so we've been in development getting feedback from this beta cluster of members and what they want and what they love. Because remember, I love social media. I love the ability to communicate around the world with people that I know. And that's what Scruples is for. It replicates real life. It's for your real life. It's not for the whole world.
Hey, Mark, in the limited time we have left, I want to touch on something you've written about, and it's a story we've covered, which is that in Europe, it has been determined by courts that you have the right to petition Google to eliminate certain search results from their algorithm. And this, of course, is interesting because you might have something in your now more distant past that maybe would be unsavory to a potential employer or whatever the case may be. I don't know how to get my head around my position on this because on the one hand, there's plenty of incorrect information on the internet about me. At the same time, though, if there's, for example, a public arrest record that is public, there is no inaccuracy in that arrest record, but maybe I would prefer, right, that it not be available to a potential employer. Does it really make sense to tell Google to remove it from their search results when it's not their website? They're simply telling you this data exists out there. I don't really know what position to take on this.
David, I think you're speaking exactly to the concern. And you're right, I wrote about this in HuffPost, and I am a major privacy advocate, as obvious. And I think the European Commission made a huge mistake. I think it's wrong to give people the right to curate what you can find out about them on Google, because let's say, you know, you're a stalker, you're a criminal, you're a child molester, you know, you're a burglar, whatever, and now you can tell Google, in Europe, by the way, this is not in the United States, only in Europe, you could say to Google, hey, take that off, that's not allowed to come up in your searches on me. I mean, this is privacy gone the wrong way. So,
Well, the issue is that it can be manipulated, right? The Google algorithm can be manipulated, so you can actually put out there deliberately false information. And I just question whether we should be going after Google. Is it Google's responsibility to curate accuracy, or is it really the responsibility of the website hosting the false information to either have to back it up or not? It seems to be wrong to put Google in the middle of it necessarily.
Well, absolutely, and it's expensive. And in this case, what I believe is people should be able to curate tagged photos, social media, conversations about them, but not public data, arrest records, violations, things like that. Anything that's really in the public domain, people should not have the right to tell Google, you can't turn this up in your searches on me. That's misleading and will lead to huge mistrust, in relationships, in careers, everywhere. I mean, Google has to be able to be independent, even though the flip side of this is Google does curate their searches based on what they think you want to see when you do a search.
Sure, but I guess that we could say the algorithm should be consistent in that sense. We've been speaking with Mark Weinstein. The website is scruples.com, SGROUPLES.com. Mark, thanks for joining us today.